Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's super exciting. We had Margo on. You were like one of our first guests, like,
Oh, really?
because we're 5 years now, which is,
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
ooh, it's crazy to think that we've been here 5 years, but
It's
you were
awesome.
first. Give everyone a little bit of update and a little bit on you. So, everyone, because people do not start from the beginning, I realize. So it's like a brand new recording.
Okay, amazing. Okay, I'm Margo Kopman. I have been in retail since my early 20s. We don't have to talk about the age, I guess.
Oh, please.
No, about I think going on 26 years-ish. I first started with a cute little women's store in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. And then I transitioned into selling that store and becoming a consultant for independent retailers, helping them with their open to buy and their sales forecasting. Because that was a very hard lesson for me to learn as a young 20 something retailer. And then, recently there's been some changes. I used to outsource my technology to a third party, and I changed directions in the last, oh gosh, it's been almost a year. And wound up building, not myself, I'm not a developer, but building a platform for our retail clients and then other consultants, retail clients that is designed to really work in real time. So that's been super exciting. The running two businesses, having the consulting company and then having the technology company is a very interesting game, I guess, right now,
Is
but it's
MVP is
fun.
the new one, right?
What?
MVP is the new one.
MVP is the new one. So the software is called MVP Retail. We designed it for consultants to use with their retailers. So we do not go direct to retailers. They are not really allowed, I should say, to use it without a consultant, supporting them and guiding them and all of those things. And one of the big challenges that I faced as a consultant is wanting to adjust and adapt the plan in real time. So if I'm having a meeting with a client and something is going extremely well, or something is kind of like, ooh, uh-oh, we need to pull back, we can adjust it in real time and see how that affects the long term and the short term. So it's a really cool, quick, kind of slick, fun, easy to use, platform for people that are all retailers really that are all shapes and sizes, and consultants that want to get off of working in Excel.
For those of you who don't speak accounting and open to buy, um,
I know it's scary.
I mean, I think, I still talk to people that don't know what open to buy is, which we're going to have you explain that in a second, but or still do not have reporting or don't go buy. They have reports or they don't go buy it. And it's funny because I took on a client in Arizona called Lucy's, and they have amazing reporting systems. They actually work on two systems, Yellow Dog and Toast, which I think Toast is for the restaurant part of it. It will
It is.
build recipes.
Yep.
And they had all these access to reports, and no one was using them, but they weren't really tracking their sales. They were for the restaurant, but the gift department was a kind of like this like afterthought. And
Yep.
then I'm like, okay, let's get the reports and like dialing them. Like each week, I'm tweaking them even more. And it's like, I said it because I had them print me an on-hand report because I'm not on the platform. It's not like I can just,
Mess around, right, and
well, I mean, I
troubleshoot.
wish I had Yellow Dog on my phone or whatever, whichever one is pulling these reports, but it's not as easy as just like going on and uploading an app. But I had the stack of on-hand reports because I'm not there. I don't see what the inventory looks like, and if I can't access it, I'm literally clueless. But I'm like sitting here with this report, cross-referencing it, and I thought to myself, for somebody that quit high school and somebody that hated math and that's dyslexic, I'm surprised how much I I like love reports. It's very weird. And this is somebody who again quit high school because I couldn't handle it. And
Yeah,
now to be so like just excited to go through the reports, it's like what is
totally.
happening?
I know. Well, and that's how I got into it because I realized like I actually like to nerd out on these numbers and like see the story in the data and then work with the stores on the art part to see how the data and the science part, meshes with the art part because sometimes it completely and totally makes sense, but it's so overwhelming. Like, when you're a retailer, you got into this because you're like, I just want to go shopping and I want people to come and shop and I want to make it look beautiful and I want to be a part of the
All the fun
community,
stuff.
all the fun stuff. And the numbers for most of them is just not fun.
No.
Yeah, so, but that makes my job even more fun. Actually, I just got off of a call with a client. Um, and so, building the reports and being like, okay, let's use this on a regular basis and let's use this one for
You
this.
tweet
So,
them.
yeah,
I
yeah.
you have to tell everyone a little bit about your story and how you ended up here because I've always said it from my time at Fred Siegel, it was always known that if you wrote denim, like you have to be, it's not like you can just dabble in it. Like you need to go deep because there's so many different styles. And then let's talk about like the size assortment, like that, like 23 sometimes all the way to 30. That's a lot of fucking like size.
Yes,
And then
yes,
it's like shoes, you have to buy into them. So
yes.
tell everyone a little about your story about your denim.
Oh my gosh. Well, I really, when I was a retailer, I just wanted the hottest lines and to get them as fast as I could. I had absolutely no budget. I had no idea what open to buy even meant. Like it was comical, right? Like 4 years into it, when I finally was talking to someone that was a retailer in town, and she's like, well, who helped you with your open to buy? And I was like, excuse me, what does that mean? And, once you implement it and you even just understand the basics of it, it actually can change your life because the balance and the flow of the inventory, there's seasonality to it, even though certain things like denim, for example, might not feel so seasonal, but there is a seasonality to everything and a certain turn rate and sell through that you're looking for. So I went ham on the denim to the point where as these deliveries were coming in, I had to have like my buddy build like a denim like wall,
Which is brilliant, by the way.
and which was so cool. And at the time, it was when denim was like first making a comeback. This is the mid 2000s, early 2000s. So, it was Rockin' Republic. It was, oh
Frankie.
gosh. Yeah, yes, Frankie's, AG, all the big players that we see now, were really coming to the forefront. And so it was to the point where, I mean, you couldn't even, I had to stack multiple styles in the cubbies. And I think there were like 48 cubbies. Like it was out of control. And I'll never forget it.
You're
What?
how much do you think you had in inventory at that point?
Oh, I mean, gosh. At retail, it had to have been, hold on, let me nerd out and get my calculator out, Michelle. Okay, so at the time, the denim was still under 200. So 195 times, let's say I had 12 units of style times like
Or
probably 72 styles. I had probably had between 125 to 150,000 at retail. And like you cannot sell through that fast when there's not that many people. And it wasn't, I think what was so interesting is it wasn't for the fact that like there wasn't traffic and great vibes. This was long before social media. I mean, Facebook was kind of like there, but I was almost too old for it, because it was still sort of collegey and no email campaigns, nothing. And like there is not enough people in this town to spend that in, a 90-day period of time. And there was more coming next month. So I,
when you told me that story, all I could think about was, well, two things. My days at Fred Siegel of like because I didn't even budget. It's like I had a cash register that you punched in and then you Z'd out at the end of the day.
At
So
the end of the day.
like I had an accountant, but he was never telling me you need to slow down. He only said that, to be honest, now I think about it, was like right before I went through bankruptcy. It was like you can't keep going.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, like you can't keep going on. And then the earthquake happened and that was it. But I think about, so one of the things, and I think about that I don't understand how people do it is okay, so when I go to the show and I write out orders, I write like my windows of time were like start ship, say 4/1, cancel date 4/30. I always put a
Yeah.
cancel date because
Oh, it.
you end up shit with shit like months later that it's like, what?
Yeah.
And then I do this, like I spread it out. So I want to always have something fresh coming through. And I realize in doing the show and talking to a lot of my reps, or just how my reps are used to doing it, like everything's ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. There's tours that take everything on ASAP. They just go to the show and write it all for ASAP. How, like, like, either your store is totally empty, like, wow, you
Yes.
just fill it up, or you are just buying everything ASAP and you're not sure how to spread it out. Like,
Mhm.
what does that do when you take everything in as ASAP to you
You-
financially?
Yeah, great question. I mean, financially, first of all, it ties up a bunch of cash. Even if you have terms, even if you put it on a credit card, doesn't matter. It's because you still have to pay it when the terms come due or when the credit card is due. If you need to open the credit card back up because it is a certain limit, so you need new inventory. So not only does it really screw with cash flow, is it also messes with the freshness. And what's interesting, I think, apparel is much, women's apparel is different from men's apparel, is different from the gift business, pet business, they're all different. But in the gift and the home business, we think to ourselves, well, if it's not seasonal, right? Christmas, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Easter, Mother's Day, if it's not seasonal like that, then it can sit there for however long. Well, not really, because it's like they're rotting dollar bills.
Thank you.
So when you go in with a plan that maps out your next 90 days and then also, maps out a rolling 12 months, because now even for the gift stores, I mean, Christmas is over and they're in Atlanta, a week later
Oh,
rebuying
no.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So, you have to really understand what the pattern is and how these people, your customers, are going, how they want to see it presented to them and how they're going to buy. And you really do that by measuring your actual demand. And the reorder is also sort of a tricky kind of subject in all verticals, except for maybe the pet industry, because that's, they turn it so fast. But what happens is let's say we have 5 candle lines and the top two we need to constantly be reordering. But if we have dollars tied up in the other three and we're not moving them, the cash that we spend to reorder is not going to go back into our pocket if we sell the reorder because we're sitting on so much cash with what's still there.
Yeah.
So that gets complicated with people. And then they're like, I don't know where all my money is. And it's like, okay, well, it's sitting on those shelves that you're looking at. The four walls are going to cave in on you one day.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that, it's like I always call it bread and butter lines. So my philosophy was when I buy, and I've never worked with an open to buyer. This is just kind of like gut. I wish I had an open to buy person when I was doing this, but is I always say we have certain bread and butter lines that you have to keep in stock, whether it's Veluspa, Jellycat, which you can't keep in stock anyway at this point now.
Ever. I mean, oh my gosh, those jelly cats. I cannot. I mean, it is
You know what
amazing.
I mean? It's like, oh my God, it's a whole thing. And God loved the line, but it's a whole thing. But
It's a whole thing.
you trying to keep inventory in those categories and then also look at what else is selling. But I don't like to do a lot of reorders other than my bread and butter because I always want fresh stuff in there. So it's like I always want our customer, because I mean we have a huge tourism because of spring in Arizona is like Christmas numbers. Like I'm actually doing bigger numbers in one of my stores than we were doing at Christmas, which is crazy.
Amazing.
And it's, golf tournament, spring training,
Yeah.
like all the things everyone converges on. But I am always like, I want something new. So it's like that's done, get something else new, which kind of makes your reps crazy. We're like, what about this? You sold out of it. And it's like, I know, but I want to get something new and keep that and then kind of build what I deem as a bread and butter line. But
Yeah.
it takes time to watch it, on the sell through. Explain to somebody before we go any further, just because I realize somebody listening that's new may not know, what does open to buy mean?
Okay, so open to buy is actually a calculation. So a lot of people that have been doing this a really long time or are new get a little tripped up by open to buy. So that is actually a calculation that is taking your total budget, right? So your plan receiving for the month, season, year, what have you, and is subtracting what you already have on order.
And that's the big thing.
That's the big thing. So back in the day, 30, 40, 50 plus years ago, because people have been doing this since the beginning of time, all the big boxes have planners and, sales forecasts and merchandise budgets against those plans. And even the independents have been, doing this for a really long time. And so the word open to buy sometimes really makes them think, okay, that's my budget. So when you have open to buy in the immediate season, so there's sort of two ways I look at it. There's an immediate need if you're not a chronic overbuyer and you're not a chronic I don't mark things down fast enough, then there might not be an open to buy. But when there's immediate and you're chasing it because you're measuring it and you're saving some cash for those core brands, for the core styles, the basics, the never out ofs, then you see, okay, here's what I have on order for the month of April. Those are number one, most important because we pre-ordered them, we booked them, we loved it. It's new product. Let's call that in. If it's not ready, let's start going and chasing the open to buy dollars because that is truly what it means. These are dollars that you have open to buy in addition to what you already have on order.
How, for stores that have a lot of inventory and they don't believe in sales, which Fred Siegel is what, like back in the day, Fred's whole philosophy was if you bought something and it went on sale, it was a mistake. That's literally his
Yeah.
philosophy. And
Mhm.
yeah, it could kind of work that way, but he only had a sale once a year, which means
Mhm.
it was, what was it? I think it was Labor Day weekend. I think it kicked off, but it was literally whatever didn't sell last fall, you were
Yeah.
fucking sitting on in a
12
box
months.
in the back of I mean, the amount of inventory. So it did make the sale like this big thing but the amount of inventory you're sitting on and you're still spending and you're still was insane to me. So because for the people that are like, oh, I've moved it around a couple times. I don't want to mark it down. It's going to
Mhm.
sell. And it's like, it's been rotated through the store. It's been
Mhm.
moved. Like, what point do you pull the trigger? Like, and how long do you tell people before you start to mark down? Because as Dan, we both know Dan's whole phrase is merchandise is not like cheese. It's not going to get better with age. That's his.
No, it is not a well-aged product. It's different in different verticals. So I think my overall probably rule of thumb is if it hasn't sold more so than the age of it, because you'll catch it if you look at if something hasn't sold in your store in 30 days, you need to look at it. And right now, since we're in the middle of the spring season, it's more like 21, 3 weeks. If this item has not sold in 21 days, what's going on with it and what's the age of it, right? So if you're constantly looking at what isn't selling over time, you'll catch it before it goes to like the big ginormous sale because those big ginormous sales, when they're only once a year or even twice a year, what happens is the markdown's actually higher. So your first markdown is your cheapest markdown.
And that would be how much?
That's, I say 30%. I have some clients and they're more luxury clients, higher end clients that do price pointed racks because at some point, right, that item, right, just, I mean, it's so when someone comes in and sees a $500 dress, and that's 40% off, right? 40% doesn't resonate
Yeah.
as well as this dress is $300,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know?
I like the racks because we're gonna do that with Lucy's because the person I took over their job, like the amount of stuff that I have is crazy. And we did a big sale at 50% off. It just didn't sell. It's like, and these are good brands. Like it just, you
Yeah,
don't understand why some of it and I'm all about like, let's reinvent it. So I pulled some of it out and it's like, let's try and reinvent it. And it's like a dog is a dog. Like I
a dog is a dog.
just,
And those need to be identified within the first 3 weeks of
yeah,
receiving them, because if you're in the apparel business, no matter what you're selling, if you don't have a 50% sell through in the first 30 days, something's wrong with it.
thank
And
you.
it's not weather, right?
I
Like,
think some people will say because I've talked to a couple they were referrals from other open to buy people. And one of the thing was like, I'm looking at her store and she's like, her open to buy person's like, you're chasing what's selling. So he keeps having her buy X, Y, and Z. And she has maxed out on space. And it's like, there's a lot of apparel stores that I know and work with that are so packed that are probably like, well, how could this sell in 3 weeks? You don't even know it's here. It's like, well, that's part of the question. But the other is like, rotating your inventory and constantly moving it through. And within 3 weeks of rotating it, to me, is when
yeah,
it's like, okay, we've moved this 4 different places. We had it on
exactly.
pins, we've shown it on Instagram. Like it's a dog. I mean, that's that. But I look at stores
Exactly.
like so full. I can see
Mhm.
where they would be like, well, I mean, it's like in a wall. Like, how are they gonna, how, and
Right,
it's
right.
my
Oh, they
for
couldn't
you to
see
know.
it. I'm going to move it. Yeah. Well, and you know the number one issue with well, actually even the gift stores and the home stores is actually over assortment. So
Yes.
yeah, so everybody wants, just like me in the denim wall, right? That I was not prepared for, is basically I want every style in every wash, right? So what happens is that you go and you buy ones across, right? Well, the bookends are always questionable depending on your customer, if they're bigger or if they're smaller. But what people forget is that you always have more than one size small, you have more than one size medium, and probably two to three, maybe four of those sizes of your best-selling sizes. So the reason why most people get that sort of analysis paralysis of looking around the store and being like, okay, well, we'll just move it around. It's very hard to sell when you are over assorted
Ugh.
with sell-throughs over 50%. So then all your racks basically look like a hodgepodge of twosies,
Yeah. Yeah. And
across.
it's so broken.
And it's so broken. Like I had another client this morning say, well, should I mark down some January stuff? I said, how many of it's onesies? And guess what? She pulled out, I mean, there had to have been 30 to 40 styles of just onesies. And then
I think people hang on like, oh, it's only one, it's going to sell, but you add that up and it's like, that is a shit ton of inventory.
it's a shit ton of inventory. And then the twosies is actually, in most cases, when you're over assorted, is actually worse because those are always the random sizes. You know what I mean? So it's like luck. So the other trick is that when you do the maintenance markdown or you do the sale markdown and you're having a big sale, if you don't size the rack, which is ugly, I understand, not cute,
Oh God.
but we can all, I know,
You're
we
right.
can all, but we can make it cute. We are in the business of art, right? And making things cute. So then that way the customer knows where to go, because after they get through the first half of the rack and there's nothing in their size, they're walking away.
You're right. Oh my God, that's so right.
They're like, "Bye, we're good here. I didn't find anything today." And then they start talking and they say, "Well, you don't have any dressy dresses," or, "Well, you don't have, anything in my size," and then you start to think, "Oh shoot, should I go get some dressy dresses?" And it's like, "No. No, you do not need more dressy dresses.
Cannot be everything to everyone. Like it's like
No.
I would go to the show and it's like, well, one thing it's like one thing like with reporting and whatnot that I find so valuable is that to be able to look at my reports and it's like mind you, I'm in Oregon, they're in Arizona, so I have to go by the reports. Like if I don't,
Yep.
I'm literally flying blind. And like one of the things with the reports, it's like I'm looking at something that should have sold, and it's like selling at two other locations. So I have two issues. Either it's not on the floor or it's in a really bad place. And so
Hmm.
I have to kind of go by that. But the other one, and here I am like already like, what am I talking about? um, I is that the over assortment of, and you can't be everything to everybody. It's like we have pet, and I'm looking at the reports, and it's like week after week after week, pet is not selling, and they're like, and then I bring it up, and everyone's like, but everybody's got a pet, and they bring them all into the store. I'm like, but it's not selling. We're literally sitting on this inventory. So I said, we're gonna move it one more time and then we're done. Like it's leaving the bill because it's literally sitting. Like I could take that, not forget the product. I could take that whole space that's holding product
Yes.
not turning and
Yes.
put product in it is one of the reasons why the reporting is so important. But the over assortment comment, I have to go back to that and we have to unpack that part because
It's my new favorite thing.
I
It's my
I
new
think
favorite.
everyone loves an assortment. Everyone wants to carry every single candle line or every single, and those are more departmental to me, departmentally merchandise, meaning this is my candle wall. It's all of
Yes.
as opposed to I lifestyle merchandise. So I mix mine in throughout the store. But I think that, when you have that many brands, like
Hmm.
one is going to be driving the business and the others you may love, but it's like at one point you have to look at it. It's like these are not selling, even though we love this brand and it's not selling. Like it's time to cut the cord. And what open to buy does for you is say guide your buys on what's selling. So this is not selling, dump it and put that money into what is selling, meaning if it's Times Fraser fur, you're buying more Times Fraser fur. Like
Yes.
that's like you may, and I have people, I think I forget who it was. It was somebody that came to me and was like, I I was working with this person and I love them, but they took all the fun away of buying. I think it was one of your clients. She was like she had this great vintage store and she's like, I know what she's telling me is right, but it just took the fun out of it. Like
Yeah.
I want to buy what I want to buy, which is an amazing thought. But if you're not making money,
Right.
you are in a hobby. You're like having
Right.
fun, as she said. And it's like, you know, I think a lot of buyers go into this like because it's fun. I'm merchandising,
Yes.
I'm buying, I'm doing
Yes.
all the trips. And then they're sitting there with a ton of inventory that's not selling because they're over assorted.
Hmm.
They bought too deep in some things and they are not putting anything on sale.
Hmm. And since we plan by classification, dresses, candles, t-shirts, yada yada, often what happens is that the buyers slash owners, if the owners are the buyers, they love specific classes. So they'll overbuy those classes and then
Personal
they'll,
personal favorites.
yeah, personal favorites, and then they'll underbuy other classes. That actually doesn't do you any favor because we're building the plan based on your actual demand. So don't rob Peter to pay Paul. Still stay focused on trying to fill dollars in classes where you have money open. Now, if it's a dressy dress class versus a casual dress class or a price pointed dress class versus a not, over 250, under 250, maybe not. But like you do not stop buying sweaters because you bought too many pants. Because you need to have more sweaters to sell those pants.
Yes.
So but and then we watch it. I always say take a chance. Like if you want to overbuy something, no problem. But really look at, we have to get visual. I mean, now with AI, now with, I mean, a lot of vendors, that are on third party platforms that do their purchase orders, there are photos. So like, did you accidentally buy two black 3/4 sleeve blazers in the month of March? Chances are you might not need two, you just need one, right? Style.
Yeah.
Um, but the assortment thing now has become extremely, extremely important because the more shallow and wide you are, then the less chances of having full price sell through over 75% because you go broken the second you sell one unit, right? So if you buy four, right? Or if you buy 3 to 4 units of a top, right? Or even a candle in the best-selling scent, you sell one, you're kind
Yeah.
of out of business.
And I tell people that all the time is like, because everyone's like, what quantity should I be doing? I'm like, four is the lowest, six. Because what happens is you have one weekend and like, say it's like this beautiful gift tabletop and you've got denim laying flat, you've got shirts, you have whatever candle. And, somebody comes and buys two and now your table, you only have two of that candle and it's stupid. It's like,
Stupid.
just make I mean, your inventory is supposed to look full, but if you are too over assorted, you have all of that spread out. It's like it's funny because I used to be the over assortment person because I'm curating lifestyle statements. So
Yeah.
taking a little bit of this, and even like where it's not too much product, but I'm realizing that the tighter the display is when I'm looking at it with maybe only two candles, one style shirt, one at whatever, is so much tighter looking than
Mhm.
where it's like lots of things on this table.
On the table.
And
You,
it,
because you sort of go, your eyes sort of go cross. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I go into like the Nike store, this is actually one of the reasons why I have a really hard time shopping online is because there are just too many choices. And I need someone to tell me, you need this,
yeah,
And what happens is they're telling you you kind of need all of it, which might be true. And who knows, we could wind up buying it all. But it's so overwhelming and we don't realize that even though there's convenience, right, with e-com, it's just still overwhelming. So the same thing goes in the store because like I actually just I had the client that I was talking to this morning about, the January markdowns. I said, do a video of all your onesies. Sure enough, in 2 seconds, she got the video up and I saw it and I was like, okay, I need this sweater. She goes, you and three other people.
yeah. I mean,
You,
getting rid of it. Well, that goes a whole nother conversation to social media, making sure that you're showing, but it's the broken part of it and too many choices. I think honestly, too many, at least in apparel. I don't know if so much for gift because gift is more like, I mean, I guess apparel is instant gratification as well, but apparel to me, it's like denim. If there's too many choices and you haven't tried, you don't know what size fits you.
hmm
It's like going through, like I went back and because where I live, there's not a lot of places to shop that have high-end denim and some of the things because I don't really get dressed up. High-end denim is dressed up to me. But
Me too.
back and forth with fucking Nordstrom's and like this doesn't fit. These are too short, blah blah. And then going there in person, it was like, oh my, like so many racks of denim, and then you're carrying in like five pair. I put on two pairs of them. Well, that's it. I'm not trying on anymore. Like I don't want. And
Yeah.
it's you actually confuse people when you have too much to offer because you make it almost paralyzing to the person who's standing there like, I don't know. And then they just panic and they're like, I can't decide.
Yeah, I'll do this later. I'm feeling chubby today or whatever excuse they like come up with. The other thing is there's this really cool retail concept. I won't name it, but what was interesting is I was taking my best friend to go shopping, one of my oldest childhood friends to go shopping for her or college reunion. And she's like, okay, and I was like, we together said, okay, this is what she needs, right? So we walk into this store and it has probably my problem of, 50 styles to 75 styles of jeans. There were 3 styles that had her size,
Oh my God. Yeah, I
right?
mean, if you're
So like,
you can't even buy a full size run, and it's I think I used to sell shoes. I would run into this problem when I had bought shoes, and they were case packed. So
yeah,
you didn't get a choice. You got one case and you got like one size seven. And that's of course, once you run out of it, like if you need that another size seven, you have to buy the whole fucking case again.
Totally. Well, now, it's interesting because a lot of vendors I'm finding that they're working with people. So if you get, your minimums and there might not be a minimum, but if you're buying enough, they sometimes will start to break it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which, that's a fine line. Some people get that, some retailers get that perk, some don't. And it's sometimes with the same vendor. It's like just about the relationship also that the buyer has, because that's the other reason why you look at the sell-throughs in the first month, right? You want to connect with your reps. You want to have conversations. We're in this together. Like you don't want a full size run of something that you just shipped us that is not selling on sale and us starting to talk about it because it'll be everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? Or wherever else, they're shipping it out to. I mean, so you want to be able to have those conversations and have them work with you. That I think is also really, really important in
Yes.
this business, even with it. Actually, Jellycat reminds me of this because, I have a client who sells Jellycat and they have a really good relationship with their reps. So like, when the ATS opens and it's time to get on that computer,
Nightmare.
it's like, I mean, it's a nightmare, but it's like, let's go, and they're working with her. So that's really nice.
There's a movement in the gift industry called reps are local too, because so many people have leaned into fair. And it's like fair has its place, as fashion go has its place as well.
Yeah.
It's you can't you rely on it only because one, they both those platforms don't have every single. I mean, I just had this conversation with one of my stores, and she was like, leans so heavily into fair that Jellycat was the issue. And I said, look at Douglas, look at this line, look at this line. She's like, well, they're not unfair. I'm like, sister, you need to step away from fair for a little bit and like venture
Yeah.
out. Because also your reps, and this is the part of reps are local too, your reps are there to help you. Like for apparel, you can say this isn't selling. Can I send it back and can we trade it out for something? For a gift, they will sometimes let you trade it out or they'll help you, some way. But your reps are going to let you know specials. They're going to let you
Yep.
know like who had like you can't have this because zip code protection, but you can have this brand. I mean, there's so much the reps, and the same thing goes for apparel. It's like lean into your reps that they are there to help you if you make that relationship. And I do love our Jellycat rep. It's
I love that though, Michelle, that the reps are local too, because they are like they live in and around your community. Not everyone lives in New York and Los Angeles. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Or even Atlanta or Dallas. Like they are completely local. I actually been doing Pilates lately and I met a really cool gift rep that's here. Like, look, she's local. And I mean, she does all the shows and stuff, but it's so true because they're making a living too and the good reps want the product to succeed in your store.
yes,
They want you to succeed, and
yes.
it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, I think
It
it's
takes a
starting
village.
all the retailers. It's like, I mean, I hate the word small. So Michael from Cursive have changed it to independent store day versus like small business Saturday. But everyone wants your people to shop in your store locally. It
Hmm.
goes for the reps. They are local just like you, and they also depend on commissions and whatnot.
Yes.
Like and there's a lot of reps right now that are really hurting because of fair, and like I said, fair's got its place. I'm all about fair. I do love it, but a lot of reps have had to take second jobs and whatnot because everyone's
Oh,
relying so heavily on platforms versus like going to the show or going
yeah.
through the rep or I mean but they are local as well. I mean it's all kind of it's all in the universe of where we are with gifts and apparel. I have to ask you with the tariffs
Hmm.
which it was crazy this time last year. That was all the talk. And now you don't hear anything about it. And they're still there. But how have you been kind of guiding your clients with the tariffs on where they should buy or where they shouldn't buy, or like how have you kind of been guiding them with that? Because that's been, a
Yeah.
good chunk of change for a lot of people.
It has. And I think, what's interesting is that we're sort of seeing is the lower price point customer, the faster the fashion is. That business, even before the tariff conversation
Oh my.
started, sort of started to die a little.
Yep.
And business, went down, but, expenses went up, right? So the margins need to actually be even better, which then forces a little bit of a higher price point. And, you get a lot of pushback from the stores that sell the, I'd say fast fashion, not even the advanced contemporary or contemporary brands, but the fast fashion, because it's like, well, my customer won't pay 72 for that. They'll only pay 68 for that. And I'm like, we have to try
Yeah.
because you have to protect your margin,
Thank you.
and you're not in business to keep the brands in business. You guys are in business to keep each other in business. So, the dynamics of that is hard. It really is. I find that the price point increases when they're minimal, um, and appropriate for the vertical and the price points. People are not really stressed. The customer themselves isn't stressed out about it. Now, if we start talking about it when people walk in and, somebody walks in and says, "Oh, this is so expensive," then, you just smile, and I mean, we can't respond because sometimes we want to be like, well, we have to eat too, type of thing. But, you just kind of have to roll with it. But there's actually opportunity because if really I felt in 25, I felt if there was not a 5 to 8% increase in net sales, then you were actually below last year. So even if you had a 3% increase in sales,
Explain this because I know people are going to be like, what? And I
yeah,
see my reports and I know exactly what you're talking about. So
yeah.
explain
So
this.
what happens what happens when prices increase, tariffs, expenses, clothing, now it's going to be gas to get it here. So, you have to kind of go with the status quo of like this is the percentage of like increase that we're seeing, right, in expenses, which also comes as a tariff. I don't like to bulk the tariffs into the cost of the item, right, because you're buying like that, and that's a tricky thing. Like some people like to see it put in the cost so it reflects the true margin, but the true margin is what the item actually cost, in my opinion, what you can sell it for. It all nets out to the same number, right? But you want to make sure that you're pricing it and getting a good enough margin. So if we saw an increase, right, in shipping of 5 to 8%, right? Well, then we need to generate, X amount more in business to cover that cost because
You
that's
don't
a
build
new
that
expense.
into the cost of goods.
I don't. And some people do, and that's okay. But when you add it to the cost of goods, right? So let's say the item is $30. And let's say the retail of that item is 65, right? Like basically Keystone. Okay. So if you bulk in the shipping for every item, then you lose the margin. So the item's no longer $30. You're saying that the item is now, let's say $34,
Yeah.
right? And so you lose the initial markup on that item. I prefer to track the expense of the shipping, right? The tariffs, what have you, as an expense to understand what percent it is to my revenue
Hmm.
and to what I'm purchasing.
Where are you recouping it? Because I always like so I tell everybody, and I still you work on a 2 point. So Keystone does not include your freight or and it's like how does that get to you and how do you recoup? So I'm always like you should be no lower than 2.5. Period.
You
Like
shouldn't. I mean, that's
Keystone did
that at this point, yeah, especially because we have loyalty programs, do you know what I mean? And like there's promotions that go on. So, if we can't get the 2.5, right, then it's a conversation with the vendor of, hey, can I get a 3% discount because I've been buying $100,000 from you for the last, 3 years and my orders have increased, 10% every year, since we started working together or something like that. But you recoup it because if you look at your expenses, and again, this is just opinion, but the net number is always going to be the same.
It was
If
like
you
a
look,
false read.
it's a false read. So if you're not looking at it as you're an expense, you don't understand it as a percentage to your total revenue because think about it, sales is 100%, right? Then your purchases, not your cost of goods sold, but your purchases is X percent. Let's just say it's 50%. Then you have 50% left, I'm sorry. You have 50% left to pay your expenses, right? And that includes like debt off of your balance sheet, right? If you have a fixed loan, like if we've got EIDL loans or another SBA loan or a personal loan, whatever. So you've only got that 50% left, and then you want X percent as a profit, right? Or cash flow. And if you aren't looking at your expenses line by line to see, okay, my advertising and promotion marketing is X percent, my payroll is Y, my, automobile is Z. If you're not understanding where those sit within the benchmarks, right? Then, and because there are benchmarks and even with like shipping and freight, like at this point, I'd say 1.5 to 2% of your total purchases. We don't want the freight in to be, more than that. And it needs to include the tariffs because we can absolutely reference back to the items and if they're profitable and if they're selling profitably. And if we understand what each vendor is charging us as a percentage to get the stuff here, we can make decisions that way. So you want to track it, but you don't want to hide it, in my opinion,
Yeah.
in your cost of goods.
I guess I didn't see it as hiding. It was just building it in, and I still could see because Tim will give me the breakdown and it is a false read if that's built in. It's like, yeah, you did more, you're higher than you, because I still go by TYLY. I still want to see, and maybe it's just
Yeah.
the very competitive person that I am. That I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at double digits right now. And I finally had him because like we would do sale, and he's ringing the sales are showing at regular price that we're up, but then he'd take off 0.5%. I'm like, okay, take that whole thing, like just show it on the report as the sale price because
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
false
Because
read.
yeah, and you start to get confused because it's gonna happen. And what I saw happening is everything last year, I mean, you did too. I mean, everything started to cost more. So the vendors, were building in the tariffs that they were seeing in the cost.
Yeah.
So if we add to that additional cost, the freight, we would
That
even have
actually
to
costs.
mark it up even more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like if the MSRP, and some people can fudge with MSRPs because they're in small towns and nobody else is, shopping or, whatever, right? But most of the time you don't want to veer off of an MSRP.
I hate when they do MSRP, to be honest, because it's like it doesn't give the retailer any additional, like if you run on a 3.0 because you can get 3.0, that I mean Jack Black did it last like no, I say it was like 10 years, 5 years ago, where I was setting up Jack Black, and I was writing Jack Black for a pharmacy, and I'm also setting it up at when he had it at Stephen Young's. And I remember just being so pissed off that all the holiday sets were all MSRP. And I'm like, why are they doing this? Because it's just now the retailer, and it's like you either have to take it out of the packaging, cover it up with a sticker, or
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I don't have this built in. But I think that's smart. I didn't even think about like being able to look at it line by line outside. But I guess you could still do that, build it into your margin, but also have separate line items so you can see
Yeah.
exactly what is something. Because I guess it is a false read. You think you're up for the year, and it's like the reason why you're up is because of fucking tariffs that you're
Yeah, because
charging.
it costs more. I mean,
Yeah,
it just so like, it's almost like any store that I worked with that was 5 to 8% up for 25. I was like, okay, you were flat to LY.
It's such a sad number. It's like you're all stoked thinking you're up, and it's like, no, it's just because,
Yeah. But what fixes it, right? Because it's what the other thing that's interesting is that everybody is item driven. I mean, or customers are just stuck on items. No one buys collections anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going and they see the beautiful Nest candle display and they're not buying the diffuser and the big candle and the little candle and the tray and all of it, right? They're buying their favorite candle.
Yep.
So the same goes with apparel. So if you reduce your assortment and you really go for the items that you believe in, that you want to tell people, if you don't have this in your home, or if your pet's not eating this food, or if you do, in the best-selling cardigan known to man, right? You have so
Yep.
many customers that like the same exact
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah, I
you
think
know?
the over assortment thing, circling back to that, I think that, one, I also think you end up spending more, and you end up, spending more, and then you end up sitting with X, Y, and Z that's not selling, that you wish you had more of the candle that sold out because the other items are still sitting. And I think that right there will tell a lot of people. It's like, okay, your top candles, your top items sold out, and what you're stuck with are X, Y, and Z. And it's like, and then when you go to the show in January, don't buy those, or July, like, don't buy those.
Yeah.
Like, they don't, like, everyone's like, I can't believe you don't buy diffusers. I'm like, they don't fucking sell. Like, I
No, they don't.
can't sell them. So it's like,
No.
just because, and it's like Voluspa, like, it makes, I think, the reps crazy, because I'm like, three sizes. That's it. And
Yeah.
everyone knows Voluspa comes in the giant jar, the this, the that, three sizes, three
Yeah.
different sizes, three different price points. That's it. We're not doing anymore. We're not doing the cute little tin, like, three sizes. That,
Yeah.
and it's like, it works. And it's that those three sizes are the ones that I know that people will buy. If they want the diffuser, I don't want to sit on a bunch of diffusers when I mean, it's like, they can go order. We can't be everything to everybody. And that's,
No, we cannot be everything to everybody.
so with the tariffs, and they're not building them in. One thing that I've realized, you kind of touched on it, as far as fast fashion is, like, kind of going. I think a lot of whatever wasteful fashion,
Yes.
where it's just like turn and burn. It's like, I will say this though, I got this really cute sweatshirt at
Very cute.
Walmart, $5 at Walmart.
Yeah, completely. But it's funny because, it's almost like the Walmarts, the Targets, the Kohl's, like, they have accessible price points and, people that are wealthy are still at Target and are still buying it.
Yeah,
But because it's accessible, it's convenient, you're there.
yeah.
You're there. It's like that running joke of you walked in for toilet paper and you walked out with with $400 in your cart, and so the little guys, and I don't necessarily mean little revenue guys, but like the independents, right? They get crazy over assorted with the fast fashion because they feel, well,
More.
they have to fill the racks, right? But again, you don't need 10 new styles when you already have 20 that are sitting there, right? You maybe need five and you need 2 packs of them instead of 1 pack each. Because again, those bookends, the extra smalls and the larges, aren't probably going to sell at full price unless,
That's your.
you have that super extra small customer, extra, extra small.
Are
Because
you
really,
finding people though? Because what I like, the fast fashion thing, like, and I said this a long time ago when we had stores, when I was partners in a store called Sweet XO. We had 5 locations: Manhattan Beach, Thousand Oaks, which was in a mall. We had Agora, that was a self-standing. We had Huntington Beach, and then we had Santa Anita. And Santa
mhm,
Anita was the one store that did not sell. And once I
interesting.
started going in there, well, Santa Anita is the mall itself is promoted by China. Like, it is, like, majority of the people shopping there are Chinese or Filipino, I think. But all the stores in that mall are luxury. And Sweet XO was based on fast fashion, cheapy, funny gifts, fart books, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that shit like that demographic did not want cheap. They wanted
Mhm.
luxury goods that were going to last. And now I'm looking around because of the Temu and because of Forever 21 and the stores that have kind of gone away because that's all they were was fast fashion, is that the more expensive brands like pieces that you're going to keep not heritage, but
They're
heritage
trumping everything.
are selling because they're going to last longer and they're more of an investment piece versus like I'm going to buy this $5 sweatshirt and guaranteed next year I'm going to give it away or whatnot. It's really now, are you finding that more and more with fashion is like people kind of going because you have more luxury stores or higher end, but the people that were still all only doing fast fashion, that's for me.
They're struggling. I mean, I have some only fast fashion stores, and what's interesting is I have seen over the 20 years I've been doing this, and fast fashion kept so many people alive in 2008 because they had to bring that price point in to sort of justify the higher price points. And we're not talking luxury, we're talking like contemporary or advanced contemporary, price points. And it's actually quite a lovely mix. Some fast fashion styles where you can have margin builders for the retailer and, you hand pick them, all those types of things. And then you have that sitting next to, so if you have a $40 top sitting next to $120 sweater and then $175 pair of jeans, they're going to buy all of them,
Yeah.
right? But if you have just the $40 top amongst a rack of all $40 tops, again, it's like their eyes go crossed.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, which one do I want? So the retailer also doesn't realize in the stores footprints aren't often built this way in my experience where they need so many units on the floor. If your average price point is $40 and your break even is 1 million, you know how many units you've got to sell in a year?
That's, I think, a lot of, and like some of the open to buy people that have been brought to me, it's like they're still doing fast fashion and they're still doing fast fashion deep. And their store is in order, the open to buy guys like, okay, you need to buy this, this, and this. And the store is so full, there's
So full.
no place to breathe. And she's actually losing sales because it's, well, one, they've gone so hot, they've double racked the wall, which how do you
Oh,
second? That's how full it is.
I
And
did that.
just racks. It's just,
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm
Yeah.
watching people, and I always tell people this, it's like when you set your store, and if you're having slow days, weeks, whatever, stand back and watch how your customers walk through the store. Are they walking in? Do they kind of look at some of the things on the focal table and then they start to look around the rest of the walls and then they just freak out?
Yeah.
That is over assortment. That is too like overbought, but you're not overbought if that's the price points you're selling. You're not overbought. You're actually where you need to be. And it's like you can't, I don't know how you can keep that up. So what would people do? Start because I love a mix of high low. I
Mhm.
not
Me
super
too.
high because none of my stores,
No, it doesn't have to be super high.
but great, like great expensive 200 plus denim, and then like
Yep.
super cute tops that could be 40, $50. And then
Yeah.
some meat, like I love that. And it does create more add-on sales. And then you have the inventory that's going to help support the numbers you need without it fucking being
Yeah. Being out of
wall
control.
to wall. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think people understand that. And when I started putting together two and two with the Santa Anita thing, it's like they're not going to buy this cheap stuff. Like we have to start buying. I had to start buying, and I now that I learned that lesson from them. Now at the Grove or Lucy's store, that's in a higher end area, then
Yeah.
fun to give them some of the inexpensive stuff, but give them some of the higher end stuff because
Hmm.
that's what that demographic is going to sell. And then I don't have to have it filled with all this like other tchotchke to make those numbers. And we're actually
Yeah.
up from mixing, from changing how the assortment and the price points, we're actually up double digits. Like we were up 40% last year from
That's amazing. That's exactly how to do it because I think too, we always we always teach and like talk to our retailers like, okay, what's your average ticket sale? What's your UPTs? Like there is a threshold for UPTs. So when your
what's a
price
UPT?
point, a
So be
units per transaction, thank you for asking me that. So if your average units per transaction, is 3 or 3.5, getting somebody to 4, 5, even with the lower price point items is hard because they're like, oh, I don't need all that.
Yeah. Because now
It's
they're
like,
thinking that this is too much.
right, like, and it's not even about the money because I think that's the other thing that's interesting. Number one, most of the time, if someone is walking in your independent retail store, they are there to buy something, right? If you're in a high traffic area like a big ginormous mall or even an outdoor mall like the Grove in LA or whatever, that conversion rate is harder because not everybody is your client. But most of the time, it is destination shopping. So they have walked in for a reason. They might have a hair appointment that's running 10 minutes late next door, so they only have 10 minutes, but they did walk in because they're like, oh, maybe I'll find something in here, even though they didn't think that they were walking in and thinking that. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. I'm actually fascinated by the buying patterns of people, and the hardest conversations that we have with our retailers is, well, I just need more traffic. Well, that's like the hardest thing to get in retail, like acquisition costs are really hard. They're cheaper, obviously, in brick and mortar than they are in e-com, which is why e-com is not as profitable as people think. But like, you have the opportunity with every single human that walks in your door, right? If you're not in a crazy busy mall, that you can sell them something. So if you're not on the sales side, like if your team is not really salesy,
Yeah.
right? That also then stalls things
Yeah.
because they can't get those units per transaction up to get that average ticket sale higher. So
That's
the lower your price point is, the more you got to sell.
it's funny. The salesperson part of it is when I had this conversation with Bob from Whizbang was, and that was when everyone was in peak freak out on the tariffs. And
Yeah.
he's like, the number one place you're going to be looking is at your staff. Like, how much is that one team member that's been here forever that kind of like doesn't sell as much as this person that kind of like hanging out in the back that, they're just
They're
not.
staring at their phone.
Yeah, those are the people you cut. That's how you're going to get and the people that are, great salespeople, because that I think a lot of people would rather blame the traffic issue versus
Always.
looking inside to like who's selling the traffic. And I mean, there's a store that I love that's here, and every time you go in, like this whole team is behind the counter, everyone's on their phone. And granted,
And
it's
not talking to you? Oh, dear
a
Lord.
very different scene though here, retail, than it is like
Yeah.
California. But even in California, there's a store in Hermosa that sold Spell the Gypsy, which is not fucking inexpensive. And
I know what story you're talking about.
going in the store and it's like, no, like, don't even look up. And you're like looking around. I'm like, oh my God, they have Spell the Gypsy here, blah, blah, blah. Like, never once looked up, never one, like, and then finally I'm watching other people. There's four people in the store, four. And this store is not big. And
No,
it's,
the tiny store.
yeah, no one's, not one. And then sure enough, somebody brings up something to the counter and then she's like, oh, hi. Like, and that's when they get the engagement. It's like, okay, you really like, along with the tariffs and everything else, there's other things you need to look at. And your sales team is probably the number one along
Because
with,
that's your second largest, I mean, that's your second largest expense to your rent.
yes. And I don't think
Well, it's more than your rent. It should be.
people think of. So tell me how because I know a couple open to buy people. You're one of my favorites because one,
Thank you.
you're approachable, you're funny, you drop F-bombs. Like you're somebody that you want to work with and I think Energy Muse, the girls, when I introduced you
Yeah, love them.
people loved you. And there's a reason why people love you, but tell people what it is like to work with you that, like I'm on the fence. I know I need an open to buy person. I know I need some boundaries because that's what you guys do. You put boundaries on all of us. But what does it look like to work with you?
So, we work a bunch of different ways. And I'm a consultant that's like, no bullshit. Here's what you got to do. If you want to work with me, great. If you're not feeling it, that is also great. If you're interested in it, I've got other people I can, we can introduce you to because I'm not for everybody. The goal is to really have a relationship where it's all, and as cheesy as this sounds, is like where you dance. So if you are not good dance partners,
Mm.
chances are we will not move the needle. And the goal is always to move the needle for you. This is not about me, right? This is about you want to make more money, you want to be more profitable, you want to maybe grow more to more locations. You maybe just want to keep this one and you want to start paying your people more or you want to make more. So we really we customize this. I keep saying but Project Retail has quite a few consultants. So, really we customize it to make it work for you. Some people love the data and get into the platform, right? Some people want to be spoon-fed the information. Here's the 5 most important things and where you have money open. Here's where you need to cut because you went crazy on, faux fur in fall. Let's not bring that many, styles in. And some people, you know what I mean? Some
Well, I
people
did
like,
that with Bird's Pharmacy. Like it was when Leopard was in this. It's a very well-known story on this podcast. That
so you basically had every leopard
every single
item
thing
that
at
was
Magic
possible.
everything was animal at Magic, everything. So
I know.
after 18 rows, I'm like,
Right.
I guess we're doing animal.
Yeah. So, if you want, some people like weekly meetings, some people like bi-weekly meetings. I don't love 3-hour long meetings once a month. It's very taxing on the retailer's time and focus even, you really want 5 takeaways. Here's the 3 opportunities. Go after those first. Here's the 2 threats that you might want to look into. If you can change it, markdowns, promotions, videos on the onesie rack, whatever. So it's really customized to you. Most people, I mean, all of them want to talk to you at least once a month, but I do have standing meetings with quite a few of my clients once a week just to touch base. Sometimes it can literally be 20 minutes. Sometimes it's a full hour, so it just really depends. But if you want to grow and make money, right, then you need to find someone who you jive with
Yeah.
and really can do the dance because it's magical. And I know that sounds so cheesy, and I'm not a real salesy person, but it is magic. Like
Well,
I
you
have a
become like
client.
family. Like I know
Yes.
your clients are like you guys have been, and I think it speaks volumes when you start talking about how long you've worked with people, because that says that dance has obviously worked out and you continue to keep moving forward together. It's the people that it's like, "Oh, I worked with this person for a year or that person for a year.
Yes.
That dance is because you have to trust you with everything. And I'm sure in the beginning, you have people that want to hold everything kind of tight, and you got to give it all up. You got to give up all your finance information. You got to
Yeah.
give up all your sales information. And it's like
Don't
a
hide.
lot of people,
Right.
both out of ego or fear, I did it wrong, or I don't want to get called out. But that to me is part of the learning process of like understanding, like you said, threats, like understanding. And if you're not coming to you with an open book of like, here's it all. Like I'm
Yep.
embarrassed to say I overbought in this, but here's
Yeah.
everything. And it's taking it as a learning experience with open eyes and open, like, here it is, versus trying to keep some stuff undercover or not being completely forthright with like really like both what you want to do, but also like what you have done. It's like, because you're going to find it anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I like the sleuths will uncover it because, and it comes out in different ways. Like when you hide stuff, it's like all of a sudden, well, and it is all of a sudden because it was being hidden. It's like, oh, I don't have any money, so I can't go spend anything. And we're like, what? So if the number one thing that number one, people don't sign up for the relationship is they're just not ready to share and they don't want people in their business, right? Number two is that they internally in their organization, in their business, don't actually have the infrastructure, which, that's hard because if, for example, the owner and the buyer you know, they're not really numbers people. If there's not someone internally that can help with the numbers, then sometimes it gets a little messy.
Yeah.
So, we have to be realistic and honest about who are the players, what do they do, what are they accountable for? And listen, it might just be a team of one, but eventually you can't do everything. I was the janitor, I was the remerchandiser. I mean, I worked 7 days a week and we weren't even open on Sundays, and that's not a good thing to do
Yeah.
because you get burnt out and then you don't realize that your business needs that expense,
Yeah.
like they need it. So your overbuy means you can't go hire someone to help you. Like the people that you hire to help you and sell, or even back end help you, they're there to actually make you money. And so you really have to be like willing. And then for those that are willing and are like, yes, let's go, and then they hide stuff along the way, it's tough because sometimes there's a bomb that's going to drop and you're like, oh shit, well that didn't
You're
work
like,
out.
oh, I didn't know you were gonna.
Yeah, like that's not cool. So like the dance can take you from, I mean this client that I work with, I mean, and she is truly like family. Like, we took her very first store, and at the time she had two. We took the very first store from when I started working with her in 2027. No, I'm sorry. It's not
Wow.
27 yet. Exactly. 2017. Um, it was like 4.5 million. It's like 1,500 selling square feet. Okay. They're going to do 14 million plus this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's always amazing to me, like when those numbers start really changing, because they've got to be like, holy shit, I had,
Yeah.
and then it's got to be like, I'll do fucking whatever you tell me to do. I will do whatever, and that's I think that the place that you want to be. It's like I will do whatever you tell me to do. Like,
Yeah, and it's funny too, because it's not easy. It's like any relationship, but it's so fruitful. Like it's weird because, you know, anyone who's in the four walls, whether you have a team of two or you have a team of 20, the four walls will always cave in on you.
mm,
It's like I forget who it was. Oh, I think like years ago, Bethany Frankel mentioned at one point that a lot of companies and like big companies were outsourcing certain things. And the objective point of view was really crucial for people, that owned these businesses because when you're in it, well, even if it's going fantastic, right? Which is ideal in a partnership.
mm,
So, even when it's going fantastic, when you're in it, the four walls cave in on you because it's like so and so called in sick today, and oh crap, the lights are burnt out in that dressing room, and the computer went down, and then I got to run my kids to school, and then I got a rep meeting in an hour after that, so there's just a lot going on. So it's if you can find a relationship that's going to help you just sort of
always
stay calm,
hire people,
right?
right? Is
Here's
that like what? Because it's I think, and this is we're getting into like an hour and 15, but
Oh, sure.
I'm
We
like,
could
oh
talk for
my God.
days.
But I think, as we're to saying this, and it's like you guys helping open up dollars to buy for X, Y, and Z, owners' payroll is a big one. And I think there is a shit ton of owners that do not pay themselves, or
100%.
their business helps pay their rent, or their business pays for their car or whatever expenses. But I don't think every owner is at the end of payroll series like writing themselves a check and putting it in their bank separate from the bank that pays for their rent, their car, their blah blah blah, which I never did. Like I never wrote
Mm-mm.
myself my own check, and
No,
it was just like that was just part of my this part of my bank account. It's like what paid, but like I never got ahead because I never got a paycheck.
totally. And then then there's the opposite where they take too much,
Oh yeah.
which is a whole nother thing. But I actually, this is interesting. I had someone reach out. It was a website lead not too long ago. And, I was talking to the gal and I was like, we really want to make sure that you know that you're going to get paid. And it was interesting because she's like, oh, well, I don't need to. And so that's another thing that we run into too, is that if you're the hobbyist, right? And if you're fortunate enough that you can do this and you do not need to get paid from it,
Yeah.
that also means that chances are there's going to be money come that you are cash calls. You're going to have cash calls constantly, because you don't need anything out of it.
Yeah, it's just you're there for a hobby and
Yeah.
but I mean it well, I'm not even gonna go down that road because
Yeah,
that's
I mean it works for a lot of people, but some people, I mean, we've seen go like just be like, this isn't fun anymore. That was a fun hobby for 3 years, for our 3-year lease.
well, that's what happened to Sweet XO. It was we opened one, it did phenomenal. It got insane press. Like everyone and their brother was coming into Agora because there's so much wealthy and like so many famous people that live there. Like the Kardashians were there. It was crazy. Then the owners got crazy and were like very ego driven. We're gonna open four more. I'm like, hold up. No one opens four stores in a year. Like literally
No.
all together. No one opens
Yeah.
four stores in a year. And not to mention, we have zero structure. Like we don't even have an ops person. We don't even have an employee manual. And you're going to tell me we're going to open. So
Four
guess
more
what?
stores.
They hired an op person. And literally I got four stores open and running and merchandising and the whole thing. And a year into it, I got pulled into an office like, yeah, I'm going to close them. This isn't fun anymore. It's like what do you this is not fun anymore. And he's like, yeah, the fun part to him was the designing, the going to shows. Like I'm like, this is where the real work starts. Like they're so literally a year after he waited out one of the leases, he paid his way out of the Manhattan Beach lease, waited out Thousand Oaks. He had to wait out Santa Anita because it was a huge TI deal. Like
Oh,
it was crazy. And it's like I got fired and it's like, okay, well, and it slowly dismantled the whole entire company. Like when it wasn't fun to him anymore, even the ones that were still opening were barely opening we're barely there on a thread because he was done. Like there was no more new inventory. It was just sell what I mean, it was so sad to watch. But that is a perfect example of like, and he had more money than God. Like it was
yeah.
this hobby for him and it was fun until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
And then it was like, what? But
Right. And then you drop the livelihoods,
of all these
you know,
people,
of all of these people, which is like, you're just like, man, like we could have done this a little
it could
differently.
have been, and I'm still friends with the ops guy, and it's like I'm still friends with a couple of the people that were at the stores. But I mean, like it was just it was a horrible experience, but it also was an amazing experience because I don't think any of this that I do now I could have done without that because I went from having one store as a buyer and merchandiser to buying and merchandising five stores within a year. It was a crazy boot camp, and I'm grateful for it. But what a fucking like what who does like who hires like they walked
Yeah.
in New Year's Day to the Huntington Beach store with HR and ops with checks for everybody like, hey, this is your last day. Like that's like bad. So that's a good example of a hobbyist. But I do want to ask you one question though, because I think I see a lot of people on Instagram and they're filming in their store and they're showing new receipts, but the rest of the store looks really empty. Talk to everyone about being underbought.
Well, as I said in my one of my very first like meetings, I think with a longtime client, almost 15 years actually, you can't sell from an empty cart. So if you do not like, if you are not, if you don't know what your break even is, and you don't know what kind of inventory at retail, and then how much obviously it's going to cost you, you need to support that, and you don't have it, then you're never going to get ahead. And that is actually why talking to people that are about to open the stores, in like a new store opening package type of way, is because then before you're going to get into it, like this is how much you need for opening inventory. And it's all based on literal facts. Your rent is this, you want to get paid for this, your payroll is going to be X amount, X percent to your sales. And this is how, and your initial markups are going to be, either Keystone, or if you're in fast fashion, they're a little bit higher, whatever. If you don't understand that, then and you're going to start from a deficit. And that happens all the time. Like there's this cute little store where we go during the holidays, and my mom loves it because this lady has a Frenchie, and so does my mom. And I walked in, I'm like, she's got 10 things. Like
That's
10, like
crazy.
like
People
10
notice
things.
that. And people, I think for the store owners that are listening to this, you're not fooling people. Like people can see, like, even like when you are overbought and you're overbought in some things and like you've got broken inventory, that does not, customers pick up on that and they can see that it's like, it doesn't just look light. You're not a Calvin Klein store. You're not hanging one of each size. It's like customers are very savvy to it. It's like you don't have to be packed to the gill, but you need to look abundant enough to look like you are in business.
Absolutely. And if it does, and if you, I also ran into this in the last few years where some stores actually had too large of a footprint. They
Oh,
had it was too much square footage.
yeah.
And they got into these leases where it was too much square footage, and the truth is that putting more stuff in there in that case just to make it feel full, right, is going to also be a challenge for you because you reined in your assortment. It looks really good and it's clean, so you might have actually signed a lease where it's this the space is too big, so it's like you want to understand what's my break even, period, the end. And then how much inventory do I need on average every month based on the demand? January and February are lower months, March, April, May, June, big, July goes into sale. Like, what does it need to look like? Because being overbought is actually way less of a problem than being underbought.
I mean, it's like I forget what store it is, but I'm watching it and it's like there's like one or two things on the table. There's not like full, like that fullness. And I keep thinking, is that like the opening table? It's like, is that what you're leading with? It's like that like, and it was all broken inventory. It was, and I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll group all this together and it will look better. And it's like, no, I think there's more you need to look at. It's like, why is this so broken? And why do you feel the need to do this? There's more of a story there. But I think the underbought part, because I think a lot of people go into the show and they're like, I don't really have any money. They're still paying off credit card bills from what they brought in at Christmas time that, that maybe they were not up for in December. And now
Hmm.
they're going into January, a whole new season. Like half your holiday stuff is off the floor now because it had Santa and snowmen on it. Like
Yeah.
now you got to fill it up, but you don't have any money. So what do you tell people for that? It's like, so somebody is like, I don't have the funds, like I
You
just,
can't save that Christmas stuff for the next Christmas. That's 12 months worth of cash.
yeah.
I mean, they've got to liquidate. So if you're understocked to begin with, right, then you don't have enough to even liquidate. But I think the other thing is that's interesting is dating is not people's friends often.
Thank you. Like you get it and you think I've got 90 days to sell this.
Yeah,
So if you
yay
have
us.
90 days of shitty sales and all of a sudden boom, 600 whatever like 1,000 something's hitting your bank account because it's 90 days, like it's almost like a bad surprise. It's like,
It is. It is. And back in the day, I mean, I remember like I didn't realize that I had terms, right? So like they just had given it to me. So I didn't even know that number one, that I hadn't paid the bill. Do you know what I mean? And that it was terms. So like 90 days later, like CIT would like hit me up and I'd be like, for what? And they're like, oh, this invoice for this Missoni merchandise. And I'm like, oh, shit. I didn't pay for that yet, and so it gives you like this false sense of security. So I have a trick for it
oh,
because basically the second that stuff gets on that sales floor, you need to start putting money aside or sending a check for the
ooh,
cost of goods sold every week, right? Or you can stash it for a month, but we all know retailers don't love to do that because they like to use the sales tax money for working capital. So, I mean, which isn't a good, is not a good thing, but like you literally, like if you sold it, you owe them money,
yeah.
and I'm a firm believer of that because the more transparent you are with them, right? So run those sales reports with the cost of goods sold every week. Send them checks. So then guess what? At the end of 90 days, you don't have to pay 10 grand. You paid that off 45 days ago because it's all gone.
Yeah.
That also helps you understand if you're actually selling through it.
Yeah. And again, like I think a lot of people are looking in their stores right now of like, oh my God, like, but it sounds, I think, scarier, but I think that, and like you said, you work with people in different capacities. So you could essentially, like I actually, if they reach out again, I'm going to refer you to a new store that's opening, that reached out to me from TikTok of all places. But
Amazing. Love that.
mean, it's, I'm in this weird niche that it's like I realize, and it's like I need to spend more time on that stupid platform because the amount of leads I get from that, it's crazy because there's just not, it's an education, it's now more of an educational platform than anything, but because there's not like somebody called us unicorns one year as merchandisers. Like,
Oh, I love that.
it's like it's hard, you're out there. It's just impossible to find you. So TikTok's been that, the unicorn finder, I guess, so to speak. But I think that, if you are opening a brand new store and you're listening to this is a mandatory thing of having, even can you work with you and like just get your numbers set as like a one-shot deal and like maybe meet up with you in 6 months and let me know how I'm doing. But I think that it's if you're doing this in the beginning and this was a hobby or you're in your thought it's not a hobby, but in reality it might be a hobby.
Yeah.
I think it's very smart to bring on yourself or another like somebody to help you with it because it's like if you've never done this and just like
Mhm.
not know understanding the calculation of like all the things that go into what it needs to break even for a store,
Mhm.
you're flying blind. Like
Flying
literally,
blind. I mean, even stores that have been open forever, and I've seen their financials where there's a profit on paper, and then the cash flow doesn't reflect that same profit. Well, you pay the government, the IRS on the profit on paper, but you didn't generate that cash flow, right? So you don't even have the cash necessarily to pay your taxes. So it's such a different way to look at it because we have always been taught gross margin, gross margin, gross margin, gross margin. Well, that's why people don't want to mark things down. But your cash margin is number one because if you don't have any cash,
yeah.
you can't buy inventory or pay your people or your landlord.
Oh my God. I love these conversations with you so
Me too. I love
I
them.
could just keep going out. To give everyone information on where to find. Well, if you're listening and you are somebody that does this for business, there's MVP. So give information on MVP and then give information in your Instagram and whatnot for Project Retail.
Okay, amazing. So MVP is the website's mvpretailsolutions.com. We're getting ready to launch the new website soon. It's almost done, the creative part. So the dev guys are going to build it hopefully in the next couple weeks. And then Project Retail is the consulting company. We have four other consultants, five other consultants, with all different shapes and sizes of backgrounds. Everybody's been in retail. Some of us have been doing the consulting thing for, decades. Some are fairly new. So that's the projectretail.com. And you can find there's like an info page there. And then our Instagram, oh gosh,
It's
I'm
gotten
so
better. It's gotten better.
what?
Your Instagram's
I
gotten
know, I know, I know. Alex, one of our new consultants who used to be a client and she sold her store. So she's on top of it. That is, hold on, the Proj.
it
Hold
sounds
on,
like you at the podcast. Is it retail? Is it
hold on. Oh yeah, it's the Project Retail. So that's easy. And then the MVP Instagram is MVP underscore retail.
We'll
I,
have
I
all the links for this in the show notes, and
okay,
as
great.
well as
Yeah.
all your contact information if anybody, because honestly, it's like if you are intimidated by your reports,
Yeah.
hire somebody that will teach you how to use them. Because that's the one thing I will say this, and I said it in the beginning. It's like for somebody that did not graduate high school, that lost her stores to bankruptcy on a system that, I had no idea about budgets. And now to learn all this years later, it's like I wish I had this so bad, but I will say this, it's like the power in understanding your numbers and being able to watch the needle move. It's all in understanding your numbers. And it's
Yeah.
like it is like it's so eye-opening. And like there are times that I don't want to go through the reports, but once I'm in there, it's like, oh my God, like it's and like I said, I keep tweaking, and you can keep tweaking your reports on, whatever report system. What was that?
Something just got like thrown at the house. Like it was like a big thump. I'm so sorry,
Right.
Michelle.
I was like, what was that? But I think all of it, knowledge is power. And I think that
Knowledge is power.
yeah, it's surprising though to me, even now as I'm saying this, it's crazy to me. Like I really start digging these reports, and it's like it is like I just can't even. I'm like flabbergasted by it because I truly am surprised on how much I'm like getting out of my reports and how much applying it to my business. It's like, or my client's business. Like, what a fucking difference!
It's
Like
a huge difference.
crazy.
Magic.
It is magic numbers. Margo, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
I miss you so much, and like this is such a great way to catch up with you after 5 years of you
I
being.
know it's crazy.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, girl. Have a great day.